If you're planning a trip to Sardinia and you think it's going to be just like the rest of Italy, but with nicer beaches, this video is going to save you money, headaches, and possibly a couple of fines. Sardinia has its own rhythm, its own rules, and some very expensive mistakes that first-time visitors make over and over again. By the end of this video, you'll know when to go, what not to do on the beaches, how not to annoy locals, and how to avoid blowing your budget in the first 3 days. So if you want to enjoy those insanely blue waters without getting a ticket for taking sand, if you want to actually find a restaurant that's open when you're hungry, and if you don't want to spend your whole holiday stuck in a car or a queue, stick around. This is your no-nonsense guide to the do's, don'ts, and local habits in Sardinia. Let's start with a super quick picture of what Sardinia actually is. It's part of Italy, yes, but culturally it's very much its own place. The language, the food, the traditions, even the landscape are different from what you might know from Rome, Florence, or the Amalfi Coast. Think rugged mountains, crystal clear bays, lots of sheep, and a strong local identity. People are friendly, but this is not a theme park built for tourists. You're stepping into a place where locals live year-round, and they really appreciate it when visitors respect that. First, let's talk timing and seasons, because when you go to Sardinia can completely change your experience. The short version, if you can avoid August, avoid August. July and August are high season. That means packed beaches, fully booked accommodation, heavy traffic on coastal roads, and prices that can be double or triple compared to other months. Limited restaurant availability, and beach parking lots filling up early in the morning. If you do end up visiting in August, book everything well in advance. Accommodation, rental car, even popular restaurants. Expect higher prices for sunbeds, parking, and boat tours. And don't assume you'll just figure it out when you get there. That's how you end up in a mediocre, overpriced hotel far from the beach. Now, if you have flexibility, the best months for most travelers are late May, June, September, and early October. In late spring and early summer, the weather is usually warm. The sea is already pleasant for swimming by June, and the island is green and beautiful from winter rains. Prices are lower, and driving and parking are far less stressful. September is also fantastic. The sea is warmest after a full summer. Families with kids are mostly gone, and the overall vibe is more relaxed. Early October can still be lovely, but some beach services and seasonal restaurants may start closing, especially in smaller resorts. So double-check opening dates. Winter and early spring, November to March, are very quiet and more for hikers, road trippers, or people visiting friends and family. Many coastal tourist spots feel semi-closed, and this is not the time if your main goal is beach life. Next, let's get into transportation and getting around, because this is where a lot of visitors underestimate Sardinia. Sardinia is big. Driving from the north to the south can easily take 3 to 4 hours, even on main roads. Public transport exists, but it's limited, especially if you want to explore beaches and rural areas. Trains mainly connect some of the bigger towns like Cagliari, Oristano, Sassari, and Olbia, and buses can be sparse and slow. If you want freedom to explore coves, hilltop villages, and less touristy areas, renting a car is almost essential. When you rent a car, book early in high season because prices rise a lot and cars do sell out. Check if your rental includes unlimited kilometers and what the insurance actually covers, especially for scratches on narrow village streets. Driving culture in Sardinia is generally calm compared to big Italian cities, but there are still a few things you need to know. Animals like wild boar or sheep can appear on the road. In bigger towns like Cagliari, Alghero, or Olbia, watch out for ZTL zones, those restricted traffic areas only for residents or permit holders, usually in historic centers. They're marked by signs. Parking at popular beaches is another thing to plan for. In summer, especially on the Costa Smeralda, official parking lots can fill up by mid-morning. Many are paid, and you'll either find ticket machines or attendants. Always pay and display if required, and never assume roadside parking is okay just because you see other cars. Fines for illegal parking are common. Fuel stations are another detail. Outside the main towns, you may find stretches of road with no petrol for a while, especially inland. Don't wait until the tank is almost empty to refuel. Self-service pumps are common, and sometimes they're card-only or cash-only, so it's a good idea to have both a working bank card and some cash. Now, let's talk about beaches and nature etiquette, because this is one of the most important parts of being a respectful visitor in Sardinia. First, there is one big, non-negotiable rule. Do not take sand, shells, or stones from the beaches. It's illegal. People do get fined, sometimes heavily, especially at famous beaches with white sand. Airport security has seized bags of sand from tourists. Even if it sounds like a cute souvenir, leave it there. The same goes for rocks and pebbles. Some beaches and marine areas in Sardinia are protected, and access can be limited. For example, certain coves in the Gulf of Orosei, or places like Cala Goloritse, may require an entrance fee, a reservation, or have daily visitor limits. Boat tours may be regulated, and anchoring in certain seagrass areas can be forbidden. Always check local rules. They are usually there to protect fragile ecosystems, not to annoy you. On the beach itself, think of it as a shared, quiet space. Sardinians generally don't shout, blast loud music, or throw big party vibes on family beaches. If you bring a speaker, keep the volume very low. When it comes to sunbeds and umbrellas, many beaches have private operators renting sets. Those areas with ordered rows of beds are not free. If you lie there, you're expected to pay. The free public area is usually off to the side or behind them. Make sure you know where you can set up your towel without getting told to move. Wind can pick up suddenly. So, if the beach is super windy, locals often just drive to another bay that's more sheltered. About safety in the water. The sea can look like a swimming pool, but it's still the open Mediterranean. Watch for sudden depth changes and strong currents around rocks. Lifeguards are not present on every beach. Jellyfish can appear, especially after storms or certain currents. Most stings are annoying but not dangerous. Now let's move on to food, dining habits, and local culture, which is one of the best parts of Sardinia. Sardinian cuisine is rich and quite distinct. You'll find dishes like porcheddu, which is slow-roasted suckling pig, often cooked over a fire, culurgiones, which are handmade pasta dumplings stuffed with potato, cheese, and mint. On the coast, you get excellent seafood, grilled fish, and fregola with clams, a kind of toasted pasta similar to couscous. One important thing to know: restaurant hours are not adapted to a typical North American or Northern European schedule. Lunch is usually from about 12:30 or 1, and dinner rarely starts before 7:30 or 8. In many local places, if you show up at 6:30 expecting full dinner service, you'll find the staff setting up or the doors still closed. Plan a late lunch and a late dinner. Touristy waterfront restaurants may take walk-ins, but for the really good agriturismo or local trattoria, book ahead by phone, message, or through your accommodation. When you sit down at a restaurant, you'll often see a coperto on the bill. That's a cover charge per person that typically includes bread and sometimes table service. It's normal and not a scam. Tipping in Sardinia is not like in the US. Service is usually included. Locals might leave small change or round up the bill. As a visitor, leaving around 5 to 10% in a restaurant for good service is appreciated but not mandatory. Coffee etiquette is worth knowing. If you order at the counter and drink your espresso or cappuccino standing up, it's usually cheaper than table service. Cappuccino is typically a morning drink. Locals rarely order it after a big meal. It's not a crime if you do, but if you want to blend in, stick to espresso or macchiato after lunch and dinner. Let's talk money and costs, because Sardinia can be surprisingly expensive in some areas and surprisingly reasonable in others. In high season, expect accommodation in popular coastal areas like Costa Smeralda, Villa Simius, or Stintino to be pricey. Simple guest houses or apartments can cost as much as city hotels elsewhere in Italy. Shoulder season offers much better value, so if you're on a budget, target June or September. Food prices vary. A coffee at the bar might be 1 to 2 euros. A simple pizza can be around 8 to 12 euros in many places. A seafood dinner at a good restaurant can easily run 25 to 40 euros per person without drinks. Beach clubs with sunbeds and umbrellas can ask from 15 to 30 euros per day for a set, sometimes more in the most exclusive spots in August. Car rentals fluctuate a lot. Booking last minute in August can be extremely expensive. Cards are widely accepted in larger towns, supermarkets, and most restaurants. But in small villages, rural agriturismi, or older bars, cash may be easier or even necessary. ATMs exist in most towns, but not in every little village. And some small islands or remote areas may have just one machine. Don't let your cash drop to zero. Take out some euros before driving out into remote areas. A big way tourists overspend is by eating every single meal in obvious tourist restaurants on the seafront and renting sunbeds every day. Mix it up. Alternate restaurant dinners with picnics from local bakeries and supermarkets. And sometimes just use the free section of the beach with your own towel and umbrella. Now, respecting locals and culture. Even though Sardinia is touristy in summer, it's not a place that exists only for tourism. People really notice and appreciate politeness. Learning a few basic Italian phrases goes a long way. And in some areas, you'll also hear Sardinian language, which is different again. Simple words like buongiorno for good morning, buonasera for good evening, per favore for please, grazie for thank you, and scusi for excuse me can completely change how people respond to you. Dress modestly when you're in villages, small towns, or especially around churches and religious sites. Beachwear is for the beach, not for walking through the historic center of a village or going into a church. Locals can find it disrespectful, even if no one says anything to your face. What do locals often dislike about tourists? Leaving rubbish, ignoring parking rules and driving onto dunes or vegetation, being loud and drunk in quiet villages, expecting everyone to speak English, and acting as if everything is just a backdrop for Instagram. If you do the opposite, pick up after yourself, park where allowed, greet people, try a few words of Italian, and treat the island like someone's home rather than a resort, you'll stand out in a good way. If you found this helpful and you're serious about planning your trip, feel free to drop your questions in the comments and share where you're thinking of staying. And if you want more no-fluff travel guides like this, make sure you check out the other videos on the channel and hit subscribe so you don't miss them. Enjoy your time in Sardinia. And remember, it's not just a destination, it's someone's home. Treat it that way, and you'll have an unforgettable trip.